There is something absolutely unfair about the way you can look completely harmless while being one of the most impossible people to convince once your mind is made up. Virgo, you can be adorable. You can be sweet. You can be thoughtful. You can be the person who remembers the smallest details about someone. You can be the one who notices when somebody's mood changes before they even realize it themselves. You can listen. You can care. You can make people feel comfortable. You can be soft in ways that nobody expects. And then suddenly someone says something you do not agree with. They try to change your mind. They try to tell you that you are wrong. They try to push you into doing something you have already decided not to do. And that sweet, adorable, innocent energy disappears for approximately 3 seconds. Suddenly, they are looking at you like, wait, where did the cute person go? Because there you are, still beautiful, still adorable, still sweet, but absolutely not moving. Not 1 inch, not 1 millimeter, not even emotionally. And this is exactly what is driving someone crazy about you. They cannot figure out how you can be so soft and so stubborn at the same time. How can you be the person who remembers their favorite snack, notices when they are tired, checks if they arrived safely, and genuinely cares about their feelings? But also be the same person who can look directly at them and say, no, and somehow make them understand that the conversation is over. That combination is dangerous because you are not the kind of person who is simply difficult for no reason. You are not stubborn because you enjoy arguing about everything. You are not stubborn because you want to create problems. You are not stubborn because you need to win every single conversation. The problem is that once you have thought something through, once you have observed the situation, once you have analyzed every detail, once you have reached your conclusion, good luck changing your mind. This person may have discovered that about you, and perhaps they did not expect it. Maybe when they first met you, they saw the sweet side. They saw your smile, your charm, your kindness, your humor, the way you could make people feel comfortable. They may have thought you were easygoing, easy to approach, easy to understand. Maybe they thought you were the kind of person they could easily influence. Maybe they thought your softness meant you were easy to convince. And then they tried. That may have been their first mistake. Because being sweet does not mean being weak. Being cute does not mean being naive. Being kind does not mean having no boundaries. And being gentle does not mean you do not know exactly what you want. You can be warm and still have standards. You can be loving and still say no. You can be forgiving and still remember what happened. You can care about someone and still refuse to let them walk all over you. And perhaps this person is slowly discovering that your sweetness has limits, not because your heart is cold, but because you have learned that giving people unlimited access to your kindness is not always a good idea. You may have been more open before. You may have given people the benefit of the doubt. You may have explained yourself repeatedly. You may have allowed people to make mistakes. You may have forgiven things that other people would never have tolerated. But something changed. Maybe you learned that not everyone deserves unlimited chances. Maybe you learned that some people confuse patience with permission. Maybe you learned that If you keep explaining the same boundary, eventually the problem is no longer that people do not understand you. The problem is that they understand you perfectly and simply do not care. And that is when your stubbornness appears. Because once you have seen enough, you are done. Not dramatically, not necessarily loudly. You may not even announce it. You simply become different. Your responses become shorter. Your energy becomes more distant. You stop explaining. You stop trying to make someone understand. You stop asking for the same effort. And that is when this person may realize that the cute and sweet Virgo they knew also has a very serious side. A side that says, I gave you enough opportunities. I explained myself. You knew what I needed, and now I am not discussing it anymore. This can be incredibly confusing for someone who is attracted to you because they may never know which version of you they are going to get. One minute, you are making them laugh. The next minute, you are giving them a look that makes them immediately question every decision they have made in the last 6 months. One minute, you are being affectionate. The next minute, you are completely silent because they said something that made you rethink the entire situation. And the funniest part is that you may not even realize how entertaining this is to them. They may find your stubbornness frustrating, but they may also secretly love it because you are not boring. You are not predictable. You are not someone who simply agrees with everything to keep the peace. You have opinions. You have standards. You have preferences. You have a mind of your own. And this person may be fascinated by that. They may try to challenge you just to see what happens. They may intentionally tease you. They may disagree with you just to watch your reaction. They may say something ridiculous and wait for you to correct them. And perhaps you know exactly what they are doing. You may look at them and think, you are doing this on purpose. And they may smile because, yes, they probably are. There is something about your reactions that they cannot resist. You may become more expressive when you are annoyed. Your tone may change. Your face may reveal everything you are thinking. You may try to remain calm while your entire expression is saying, I cannot believe I have to explain this to you. And this person may find that absolutely adorable. They may love the fact that you are not afraid to challenge them. They may love that you do not simply sit there and agree. They may love that you can be sweet without being submissive. And perhaps this is one of the reasons they cannot get you out of their head, because you are not one-dimensional. You are not just cute. You are not just sweet. You are not just intelligent. You are not just stubborn. You are all of these things at the same time. And that creates a personality people remember. You may be the kind of person who appears calm from a distance, but the closer someone gets to you, the more layers they discover. At first, they may see the polite version of you, the composed version, the version that smiles, the version that says it is okay, even when you are still processing what happened. Then, as they get closer, they discover your humor, your sarcasm, your random thoughts, your unusual habits, your specific preferences, your strong opinions, your ability to analyze a situation from 12 different angles. And then eventually they discover the stubbornness, the beautiful, frustrating, incredibly attractive stubbornness And by that point, it may be too late. They are already attached. They already care. They already know too much about you. They already recognize the different expressions on your face. They know when you are genuinely happy. They know when you are pretending to be fine. They know when you are annoyed but trying to remain polite. They know when you have already made up your mind. And perhaps they have learned that when you say, I am thinking about it, you may actually mean, I have already decided, but I am not ready to tell you yet. This person may be trying to understand you, but the problem is that you are not always easy to understand. You can say you are fine and genuinely mean it, or you can say you are fine because you do not want to explain what is wrong. You can be quiet because you are peaceful, or you can be quiet because you are analyzing everything. You can pull away because you need space, or you can pull away because someone has disappointed you. And this person may spend a lot of time trying to figure out which one it is. They may study your messages, your tone, your timing, your reactions. They may notice when your replies become shorter. They may notice when you stop using certain emojis. They may notice when you stop asking questions. They may notice when you stop sharing little details about your day, and they may know immediately that something has changed. Because when you are genuinely interested in someone, you give them your attention. You ask questions. You remember things. You notice details. You may not always be dramatic about your feelings, but you show them through your behavior. And when you stop doing those things, the difference is obvious. This person may have become accustomed to your attention. They may have become accustomed to your sweet messages, your little jokes, your concern, your presence, and perhaps they did not realize how much they depended on those things until you became less available. That is when they may begin to panic. Not necessarily in an obvious way. They may not call you and say, please come back. I miss your attention. Instead, they may suddenly become more interested. They may send random messages. They may ask what you are doing. They may find excuses to start conversations. They may send you something that reminds them of you. They may pretend it is casual, but it may not be casual at all. Because this person may be trying to reconnect with the sweet side of you, the side that laughs with them, the side that listens, the side that gives them warmth. But they may also be aware that your stubborn side is watching, and that side remembers everything. You may forgive someone, but you do not necessarily forget the lesson. That is one of the things this person may find intimidating about you. They may know that once you have seen a pattern, they cannot simply convince you that the pattern does not exist. You may give someone another chance, but you will be watching. You will notice whether they repeat the same behavior. You will notice whether their words match their actions. You will notice whether they are consistent, and they may feel that. They may feel as though you are quietly observing them, and perhaps you are, because you are not interested in being convinced by a beautiful speech. You want to see evidence. You want to see effort. You want to see whether the person can actually do what they said they would do. This may drive them crazy because they cannot simply charm their way out of everything with you. They may be used to people accepting apologies. They may be used to making promises. They may be used to saying the right things. But with you, words are not enough. You may smile. You may listen. You may even say, I understand. But inside, you are thinking, okay, now show me. And that is where they may become nervous because they know that you are not easily fooled. You notice inconsistencies. You notice when someone's behavior changes. You notice when their enthusiasm disappears. You notice when someone only becomes affectionate when they want something. And once you notice something, it becomes difficult for you to unsee it. That is why this person may find you so challenging. You are sweet, but you are not oblivious. You are kind, but you are not without limits. You are romantic, but you are not willing to accept anything in the name of love. You can be deeply emotional, but you may still make logical decisions. And that combination can confuse people, especially someone who is used to being able to manipulate situations through emotions. They may try to make you feel guilty. You may notice. They may try to avoid answering a question. You may notice. They may try to change the subject. You may notice. They may try to pretend that something never happened. You may remember the exact date, time, conversation, and tone of voice. And they may eventually realize, oh, I cannot get away with anything. But the funny thing is that you may not even be trying to catch them. You simply pay attention. You observe. You remember. You notice. And perhaps that is why people sometimes underestimate you. They see the sweetness first. They see the beauty. They see the soft energy. They see the kindness. They assume that you are easy to read. Then they discover that there is an entire universe happening inside your mind. You may be analyzing the conversation while participating in it. You may be noticing their body language, their word choices, the things they do not say. You may hear the difference between I am busy and I do not want to make time. You may understand the difference between someone needing space and someone slowly losing interest. And once you understand something, you do not easily convince yourself otherwise. That is where your stubbornness comes from. Sometimes people may think you are refusing to change your mind simply because you are stubborn. But in reality, you may have already collected enough information. You have already seen enough. You have already experienced enough. And perhaps they are trying to argue with a conclusion you reached after observing the situation for weeks. They are coming into the conversation with one piece of information. You are coming in with the entire history. That is why they may lose, because you have receipts. Maybe not physical receipts, but emotional receipts, mental receipts, behavioral receipts. You remember, and this person may know it. They may joke about your memory. They may say, you remember everything. And you may respond, of course I do. And perhaps they laugh. But secretly, they may be terrified because they know you remember the promises, the excuses, the changes, the patterns, the moments when they were there, and the moments when they disappeared. You do not necessarily use this information to punish people, but you do use it to make decisions. And that is the part they may find impossible to fight against. They cannot argue with your experience. They cannot tell you that you imagined how they made you feel. They cannot tell you that you misunderstood everything if their behavior repeatedly showed you the same thing. And perhaps they have tried. Maybe they have said, you are overthinking. You are too sensitive. You take things too seriously. But eventually, they may realize that you are not simply overthinking. You are noticing there is a difference, and perhaps they are beginning to understand that. This person may be especially attracted to the fact that you are not afraid to challenge them. You may have a sweet way of saying something that is actually incredibly direct. You may say, I understand what you mean, and then proceed to explain exactly why they are wrong. They may be sitting there thinking, how did I end up in an argument with the cutest person I know? And yet, they cannot leave. They may even enjoy it because your conversations are never empty. You make them think, you challenge their perspective, you ask questions they were not prepared to answer. You may force them to examine themselves. And sometimes people become attached to the person who makes them think differently. This person may have met plenty of attractive people, plenty of kind people, plenty of charming people, but you may have something different. You are not simply pleasant, you are memorable. You have a personality that stays in their mind. They may remember things you said weeks later. They may hear a phrase and immediately think of you. They may see something funny and wonder how you would react. They may find themselves wanting to tell you something and then realize that you are not there. That is when they may understand how much space you occupy in their life. Not because you are constantly demanding attention, but because your presence has become part of their thoughts. They may be going through their day normally. Then suddenly, Virgo would hate this. Virgo would laugh at this. Virgo would definitely have an opinion about this. And perhaps that is the problem. You have become a reference point. They compare situations to you. They compare conversations to you. They compare people to you. And the more they do that, the more they realize that you are not easy to replace because you are not simply one personality. You are a combination: cute, sweet, intelligent, funny, observant, independent, sensitive, strong, stubborn, and occasionally completely impossible. But perhaps that is what they love. They may complain about your stubbornness. They may tell you that you are difficult. They may roll their eyes when you refuse to change your mind. But if someone else criticizes you, suddenly they are defending you because they may have a very complicated relationship with your stubbornness. When you are arguing with them, it drives them insane. When someone else does not understand you, they suddenly want to explain you. They may say, that is just how Virgo is, as if they are an expert, as if they have not spent half their time trying to understand you themselves. And this may be one of the funniest things about the connection. They may pretend you annoy them, but they notice everything about you. They know your habits. They know your expressions. They know what makes you laugh. They know what makes you angry. They know which topics you will defend passionately. They know when you are being serious. They know when you are joking. And perhaps they have become addicted to the unpredictability of your personality, because with you, they never get only one version. You can be soft in the morning and argumentative by the afternoon. You can be incredibly affectionate and then suddenly need complete silence. You can want attention and then become annoyed when someone gives you too much of it. You can miss someone and still refuse to text first. And yes, this may be one of your biggest problems. You can genuinely miss someone and still think, they know where I am, they have my number, they can text me, and then both of you remain silent. because apparently nobody wants to be the first person to admit that they care. This person may be especially frustrated by that. They may know you are thinking about them. You may know they are thinking about you. And yet, both of you may be waiting for the other person to make the first move, waiting for a sign, waiting for the perfect moment, waiting until the silence becomes so uncomfortable that someone finally gives up. And perhaps this person is more likely to give up first because they may find your stubbornness impossible, but they may also find it irresistible. You are not someone they can easily control, and perhaps that is exactly why they keep thinking about you. There is something attractive about a person who has their own mind, someone who cannot be easily influenced, someone who does not change their personality to make everyone comfortable, someone who can be sweet without being desperate for approval. And perhaps you have that energy. You may care what people think, but you do not necessarily let everyone decide who you are. You can listen to advice. You can consider another perspective, but ultimately you make your own decisions. And when you have decided, you may become extremely difficult to move. This person may have attempted to change your mind several times. Maybe they tried logic. You had an answer. Maybe they tried emotion. You still had an answer. Maybe they tried charm. You smiled, but remained stubborn. Maybe they tried ignoring you. You became even more determined. And now they may be thinking, how is this person so cute and so difficult? But perhaps the truth is that they do not actually want you to change. They may complain about your stubbornness, but they do not want you to become someone who simply agrees with everything. They may enjoy the fact that you challenge them. They may enjoy the fact that you have your own opinions. They may enjoy the fact that you are not easily impressed. Because when you do approve of something, it means something. When you compliment someone, it feels genuine. When you choose someone, it feels intentional. When you give someone your attention, it is not meaningless. You may not give that energy to everyone, and this person may know it. That is why your affection can feel powerful, because they know that you are selective. They know that you do not open yourself completely to everyone. They know that your trust takes time, and perhaps once you give it deeply. That may be why betrayal affects you so strongly, because you do not give people access to the most private parts of yourself casually. You may allow someone to see your vulnerable side, your insecurities, your fears, your strange thoughts, your emotional contradictions. And if they mishandle that access, you may not easily forget it. You may still love them. You may still care about them. You may still remember the good times, but something changes. The trust is no longer the same. And once that happens, your stubbornness becomes your protection. You may tell yourself, I am not going through that again. And this person may be trying to convince you that they are different. Maybe they are, maybe they are not, but you will not simply believe them because they say so. They will have to show you. And that may be what drives them crazy, because you cannot be rushed. You do not care how emotional the conversation becomes. You do not care how many promises someone makes. If your instincts are telling you to wait, you wait. If your mind is telling you to observe, you observe. And perhaps this person is learning that patience is necessary if they want to remain close to you. You cannot be forced into emotional decisions. You may need time. You may need space. You may need to think. And while you are thinking, the other person may be sitting there wondering, is Virgo still upset? Are we okay? Did I ruin everything? Are they going to forgive me? And perhaps you are simply at home eating something and thinking about something completely unrelated. That is the problem. They may be emotionally spiraling while you are calmly continuing your day. But do not mistake your calmness for a lack of feeling. You may feel deeply. You simply do not always react immediately. You may need time to process. You may need to understand what you feel before you express it. And sometimes, by the time you are ready to talk, the other person has already panicked. They may think you do not care, but perhaps you care so much that you do not want to speak while you are emotional. You want to choose your words. You want to be fair. You want to understand the situation. You want to avoid saying something you will regret. And this is another reason why you can appear confusing. You may be deeply emotional inside while appearing completely calm outside. You may be hurt while smiling. You may miss someone while refusing to contact them. You may want an apology while pretending you do not care. And this person may be trying to understand all of those contradictions. They may be thinking, how can someone be this sweet and this difficult at the same time? But perhaps that is exactly who you are. You are not a simple person, and you do not need to be. You are allowed to have contradictions. You are allowed to be soft and strong. You are allowed to be romantic and independent. You are allowed to want love and still need space. You are allowed to care deeply and still have boundaries. You are allowed to be cute and stubborn. In fact, perhaps that combination is exactly what makes you so unforgettable. Because if you were only sweet, people might take advantage of you. If you were only stubborn, people might never get close enough to know your heart. But you are both. You have the softness that makes people feel safe and the strength that makes people respect you. You can make someone feel special, and you can also make them understand that they should not take you for granted. This person may have discovered both sides, and perhaps they are now completely attached. They may have started with curiosity, then attraction, then fascination, then emotional investment, and now they may be in the stage where they cannot stop thinking about you. They may not even understand when it happened. At first, you were just someone interesting. Then they started looking forward to your messages. Then they started noticing when you were not available. Then they started wondering who you were talking to. Then they started caring about your opinion. Then they started getting jealous. And suddenly, they are emotionally involved. Meanwhile, you may be sitting there wondering, why are they acting weird? Because perhaps you do not always realize how much impact you have on people. You may think you are simply being yourself. You are not trying to make someone obsessed. You are not trying to make someone chase you. You are not trying to be mysterious. You are simply living your life. And perhaps that is what makes you so attractive. You are not constantly performing for attention. You have your own world, your own thoughts, your own priorities, your own standards, and this person may want access to that world. But access is not automatic. They have to earn it. They have to show consistency. They have to be genuine. They have to understand that you are not going to abandon yourself just because you like someone. And perhaps that is the part that makes them nervous, because they may realize that you can walk away. You may be sweet enough to forgive, but stubborn enough to leave. And they may know that once you truly decide that something is over, it is very difficult to make you return. You may give people many opportunities before that point, but once you reach the end, you reach the end. And perhaps this person is trying very hard not to push you there. They may be watching their behavior more carefully. They may be thinking before they speak. They may be trying to understand what makes you comfortable. They may be trying to prove that they can be trusted. And perhaps you notice, you may not say anything, but you notice, you see the effort, you see the changes, you see whether they are genuinely trying or simply acting differently for a short time. And perhaps this is where your stubbornness becomes useful, because it prevents you from accepting temporary behavior as permanent change. You do not want someone to be perfect for 2 weeks. You want to know who they are consistently. And that is reasonable, because love is not only about the beautiful moments, it is about what happens when people are tired, annoyed, busy, stressed, insecure, confused. The real character of a person appears when things are not easy. And perhaps you are watching this person carefully. You are wondering, can they handle me? Can they handle your questions, your standards, your need for honesty, your moments of silence, your strong opinions, your stubbornness, your emotional depth? Because you are not looking for someone who only likes the cute version of you. You need someone who can handle the entire person, the sweet side, the funny side, the emotional side, the independent side, the stubborn side, the side that needs reassurance, the side that needs space, the side that says, I love you, and the side that says, do not talk to me right now, sometimes within the same day. And this person may be discovering that loving you means understanding your complexity. You are not always going to be easy, but you are genuine. And perhaps that is what matters. You may not always express yourself perfectly. You may sometimes become quiet instead of explaining. You may sometimes hold on to your position longer than necessary. You may sometimes refuse to admit that someone else is right, even when deep down you know they are. And yes, you may occasionally need to apologize, but perhaps you also bring something rare. You bring sincerity. When you love, you do not love casually. When you care deeply. When you trust, you do not give that trust lightly. And when you choose someone, that choice means something. This person may understand that. That is why they may be so drawn to you. They may know that your attention is valuable. They may know that your affection is not given to everyone. They may know that if you are choosing to spend time with them, it is because you genuinely want to. And perhaps that makes them want more. They want to see the side of you that not everyone gets to see. The silly side, the playful side, the affectionate side, the side that makes jokes nobody else understands, the side that sends random messages, the side that becomes excited about small things, the side that can be incredibly adorable without even trying. And perhaps they are addicted to those moments because behind the stubbornness is a person with a huge heart, A person who may pretend to be independent but still wants to be loved properly. A person who may act like they do not need anyone but still appreciates genuine effort. A person who may say, I am fine, but secretly hope someone cares enough to ask again. And perhaps this person is beginning to understand that they may be learning that your stubbornness is not the absence of emotion. Sometimes it is the way you protect your emotion. You may refuse to chase because you are afraid of being rejected. You may refuse to apologize first because you are afraid of being taken for granted. You may refuse to admit that you miss someone because you are afraid they do not miss you. And perhaps the person who understands you best will recognize that. They will not always take your stubbornness personally. They will know when to give you space. They will know when to come closer. They will know when to make you laugh. They will know when to stop arguing. And perhaps this person is learning. They may not understand everything yet, but they are paying attention. They are noticing what makes you smile, what makes you withdraw, what makes you feel safe, what makes you feel appreciated. And perhaps that is why they cannot get you out of their head. Because every time they think they understand you, you reveal another side. You are sweet, then sarcastic, you are affectionate, then independent, you are confident, then suddenly shy, you are stubborn, then unexpectedly soft, you are strong, then vulnerable, you are impossible, then completely irresistible. And perhaps this person has become fascinated by the contradictions. They may not always know what to expect, but they know they never feel bored. And maybe that is what they like most. You make them feel something. You make them think. You make them laugh. You challenge them. You surprise them. And perhaps they are beginning to realize that you are not someone they want to lose, even if you drive them crazy. Especially because you drive them crazy. There are people who are attracted to comfort, and there are people who are attracted to challenge. This person may be both. They love your softness, but they are fascinated by your strength. They love when you are sweet, but they secretly enjoy when you challenge them. They love your kindness, but they respect the fact that you are not easily controlled. And perhaps that balance is what keeps them coming back. They may complain about you. They may say, you are so stubborn. And you may say, I know. And then they have no response. Because what exactly are they supposed to do with someone who is fully aware of their own personality? You are not pretending to be perfect. You know your flaws. You know you can be difficult. You know you can overthink. You know you can hold on to things. You know you can refuse to let go of an argument even when everyone else is ready to move on. But perhaps you also know that your heart is genuine. You may be stubborn, but you are not cruel. You may be direct, but you are not heartless. You may need time, but you are not incapable of love. And perhaps this person is discovering that your stubbornness is not something they need to defeat. It is something they need to understand. They do not need to win every argument. They do not need to force you to change your mind. Sometimes they simply need to listen. Sometimes you need to feel heard before you are ready to soften. Sometimes you need someone to say, I understand why you feel that way. And once you feel understood, you may become much easier to reach. Because underneath the stubbornness, you may simply want to know that your feelings matter. You do not want someone to agree with everything you say. You want someone to respect you enough to listen. And there is a difference. This person may be learning that they may be discovering that the fastest way to get through to you is not to fight harder. It is to become more honest, to communicate, to stop playing games, to stop trying to manipulate your reactions. Because the moment you feel that someone is playing with you, your walls may go up. And once those walls are up, they may find it very difficult to get through. That is why honesty matters so much to you. You can handle the truth. You may not always like it. You may argue with it. You may need time to process it. But you would rather know the truth than be treated like you are stupid. And perhaps this person respects that about you. They may know that you can handle difficult conversations. They may know that you prefer clarity, and perhaps they are learning to be more direct with you because you are not interested in guessing games forever. You may enjoy a little mystery, but eventually you want answers. You want to know where you stand. You want to know what someone actually wants. You want to know whether their actions are intentional. And if someone cannot give you that clarity, you may eventually make your own decision. And once you make it, good luck. This person may be learning that the hard way. They may have assumed that they could remain vague. They may have assumed that you would wait. They may have assumed that you would continue giving them access to your energy. But perhaps you reached a point where you said, no, not because you stopped caring, because you started caring about yourself. And that may have been the moment they realized how serious you were. Your sweetness is powerful, but your absence is powerful too. When you are present, you bring warmth. When you are gone, people notice. They notice the difference. They notice the silence. They notice that the person who used to make them laugh is no longer there. They notice that the person who used to ask questions is no longer asking. They notice that the person who used to care about the little things has stopped giving them access. And perhaps this person is feeling that now. They may miss the cute side of you. They may miss the sweet side, but they may even miss your stubbornness. They may miss arguing with you. They may miss your opinions. They may miss the way you would refuse to admit that they were right. They may miss the way you would look at them when they said something ridiculous. They may miss the way you made them feel challenged. And perhaps that is when they realize something. Even the things that drove them crazy became things they loved about you. Your stubbornness became part of your charm. Your strong opinions became part of your personality. Your refusal to be easily influenced became part of what made you attractive. And perhaps they would rather deal with your stubbornness than experience your absence. That is a very important realization because sometimes people think they want someone easier, someone who never argues, someone who always agrees, someone who never asks questions, someone who never challenges them. But eventually, they may realize that easy is not always meaningful. They may miss the person who made them think, the person who made them laugh, the person who could be both comforting and challenging. And perhaps that is you. You are not just someone they can casually forget. You have left an impression, and perhaps they are still trying to understand why. Maybe it is because you never tried too hard to impress them. Maybe it is because you were simply yourself. Maybe it is because you did not need constant validation. Maybe it is because you could be sweet without being desperate. Maybe it is because you had a life outside of them. And perhaps that independence made them want your attention even more. People often value what they cannot automatically possess, and you are not something anyone possesses. You choose, you decide, you allow people close to you, and if they make you feel unsafe, disrespected, or unappreciated, you can leave. That may be the part of you this person finds most intimidating. You may love someone deeply, but you are still capable of choosing yourself. And that is a strength. Not everyone has it. Some people stay in situations that hurt them because they are afraid of being alone. But you may eventually reach a point where being alone feels better than being misunderstood. You may eventually choose peace over potential, consistency over chemistry, truth over fantasy, and perhaps this person knows that. They may know that they cannot simply keep you through words. They need to make you feel safe. They need to show you that their intentions are real. And perhaps they are trying. Maybe they are becoming more patient. Maybe they are becoming more communicative. Maybe they are learning to respect your boundaries. Maybe they are realizing that your stubbornness cannot be overcome by force. It can only be approached with understanding. And perhaps that is the secret. You are not impossible to love. You simply cannot be loved carelessly. You are not difficult because you expect too much. You are difficult for people who want access without responsibility. You are difficult for people who want your softness but do not want to respect your boundaries. You are difficult for people who want you to be emotionally available while they remain inconsistent. But for someone who genuinely understands you, your contradictions may become beautiful. Your stubbornness becomes strength. Your sensitivity becomes depth. Your sweetness becomes warmth. Your independence becomes confidence. Your intelligence becomes attraction. Your humor becomes comfort. And your complexity becomes the reason they never get bored. Perhaps that is what this person is discovering. They may have thought your stubbornness was something they needed to change. Now, they may realize it is part of the person they fell for. They may not always understand you. They may not always agree with you. They may occasionally need a break from your very strong opinions, but they may also know that life without your opinions would be much less interesting. They may pretend to be annoyed when you correct them, but secretly they may be waiting for you to say something. They may pretend they do not care about your reaction, but they may check your face immediately after saying something. They may pretend your silence does not affect them, but they may become increasingly nervous when you stop responding. And perhaps you know exactly what is happening. You may not say anything, but you can feel when someone is attached to your energy. You can sense when someone is paying attention to you, and perhaps this person is not as subtle as they think. They may believe they are hiding their feelings, but you notice the way they look at you, the way they find reasons to be around you, the way they remember details, the way they react when you become distant, the way they suddenly become interested when someone else gives you attention. And perhaps that is when you smile because you know that this person may be completely fascinated by you. They may be driven crazy by your stubbornness, but they may also be completely addicted to your sweetness. They may be frustrated by your independence, but they may also respect it. They may not understand your moods, but they may still want to know what is happening inside your head. They may not always know how to approach you, but they keep trying. And that says something because not everyone has the patience to understand a complicated person. Not everyone wants to learn. Not everyone is willing to pay attention. And perhaps this person is, they may be learning your language, the language of your silence, your humor, your boundaries, your affection, your stubbornness. And perhaps the more they learn, the more they realize that you are worth the effort. That is the beautiful thing about you. You may not reveal everything immediately. You may not allow everyone access. But for the people who earn your trust, there is so much more to discover. You have layers, and each layer makes you more interesting. The sweet side, the cute side, the serious side, the stubborn side, the emotional side, the independent side, the chaotic side, the deeply thoughtful side, and perhaps this person has become attached to all of them, even the parts they claim to dislike, especially those parts. Because sometimes the things that annoy us about someone become the things we miss most when they are gone. They may miss your arguments, your corrections, your stubborn opinions, your dramatic reactions, your refusal to admit defeat. They may miss all of it because it was you. And perhaps they are finally realizing that they do not want someone who is simply easy. They want someone real, someone with personality, someone who makes them laugh, someone who makes them think, someone who challenges them, someone who has a heart but also has a backbone. And that is exactly what you are. You are not just cute. You are not just sweet. You are not just attractive. You are not just kind. You are a person with a mind of your own. And that is what makes you unforgettable. So if this person seems increasingly fascinated by you, do not be surprised. If they tease you about being stubborn, pay attention to their expression. They may be complaining, but they may also be smiling. If they argue with you over something ridiculous, perhaps they are enjoying the interaction more than they want to admit. If they keep returning after every disagreement, perhaps they are not as annoyed as they pretend to be. And if they continue trying to understand you, perhaps they have already realized something important. You are worth the effort, not because you are perfect, but because you are genuine, and genuine people are rare. You do not need to become less stubborn to be loved. You do not need to become less intelligent, less opinionated, less independent, less emotional, less yourself. The right person will not need you to become smaller so they can feel comfortable. They will understand that your sweetness is more beautiful because it comes with strength. Your kindness is more valuable because it is a choice. Your affection means more because you do not give it to everyone. And your love is powerful because you are capable of walking away from what does not respect it. That is why this person may be so fascinated. They may look at you and see someone who can be both adorable and intimidating, someone who can make them laugh and make them question their life choices, someone who can be their soft place and their most honest critic, someone who can say, I love you, and then 5 minutes later, you are absolutely wrong. And somehow They still want to stay. That is the energy. That is the contradiction. That is the reason they cannot get you out of their head. You are not easy to categorize. You are not predictable. You are not just one thing. And perhaps this person has spent a long time trying to understand you, but maybe they are finally realizing that they do not need to understand every single part of you to appreciate you. Some people are not puzzles to solve. Some people are experiences to appreciate, and perhaps you are one of those people. They may never completely understand why you can be so sweet and so stubborn. They may never understand why you need space one moment and affection the next. They may never understand why you can remember a conversation from 3 years ago but forget where you put your phone 5 minutes ago. They may never understand why you can say you do not care and then remember every detail about someone you supposedly do not care about. But perhaps they will learn to laugh about it. They will learn to accept your contradictions. They will learn that loving you means understanding that you are human, not a perfectly consistent machine, not a character who behaves the same way every day. You have moods, you have emotions, you have boundaries, you have good days and difficult days. And the person who truly wants to be close to you will not only want the cute version, they will also need to respect the stubborn version, because the stubborn version is often protecting the soft version. The part of you that has been hurt, the part of you that has trusted the wrong people, the part of you that has given too much, the part of you that learned to be careful. And perhaps this person is slowly realizing that your stubbornness is not random. It has a history. It comes from experience. It comes from knowing what happens when you ignore your instincts. It comes from refusing to repeat certain lessons. And perhaps when they understand that, they will stop trying to fight you. They will start trying to understand you. And that may be the difference between someone who simply finds you attractive and someone who genuinely values you. Anyone can be attracted to your appearance. Anyone can enjoy your sweetness. But the person who truly cares will want to understand the parts of you that are not immediately easy. They will want to know why you become quiet, why you pull away, why you become stubborn, why you need reassurance, why you sometimes pretend not to care. And they will not use your vulnerabilities against you. They will protect them. That is the kind of connection you deserve. Not someone who wants to win against you, someone who wants to understand you, not someone who wants to control your decision, someone who respects your independence, not someone who only wants your sweetness, someone who can appreciate your strength too. And perhaps this person is beginning to become that kind of person. Maybe they are learning, maybe they are changing, maybe they are finally realizing that your stubbornness is not an obstacle. It is part of your charm. It is part of your strength. It is part of the reason you are you. And perhaps one day they will stop saying, "Why are you so stubborn?" and start saying, "Okay, I know you have already made up your mind." And maybe you will smile because they finally understand. They finally know that when your mind is made up, there is no point in giving you a 10-minute speech. They may as well bring snacks because this conversation is going to take a while. And perhaps that is what makes the connection so entertaining. There may be arguments, there may be teasing, there may be dramatic moments, There may be times when one of you refuses to apologize first, but there may also be laughter, affection, understanding, a strange kind of comfort, the kind where you can be completely yourself, the kind where you do not have to pretend to be less complicated, the kind where someone can look at you and say, "You are driving me crazy." And you know that they do not mean go away. They mean, "I cannot stop thinking about you. I do not understand you, but I do not want anyone else to be exactly like you." And perhaps that is the truth. You are not everyone's cup of tea. You are too observant for some people, too direct for others, too independent for people who want control, too emotional for people who fear intimacy, too stubborn for people who want someone easy to manipulate. But for the right person, those same qualities become exactly what makes you special. Your eyes may be beautiful. Your smile may be adorable. Your personality may be charming. But what keeps someone attached is everything beneath the surface. The way you think, the way you notice, the way you care, the way you remember, the way you stand your ground, the way you refuse to become someone else just to be easier to love. That is the part that stays with people. And perhaps this person is discovering that now. They may have met beautiful people before. They may have met sweet people before. They may have met intelligent people before. But they may not have met someone who combines all of those things with your particular kind of stubbornness, your particular kind of humor, your particular way of caring. And once someone becomes familiar with that combination, it becomes difficult to find it anywhere else. So, yes, Virgo, you may be cute, you may be sweet, you may be charming, you may be the person who makes people feel safe, but you are also stubborn, you are also strong, you are also independent, you are also capable of saying no. And perhaps this person is discovering that the very qualities that make you difficult to understand are the qualities that make you impossible to forget. They may complain, they may tease you, they may shake their head, they may say, "You are impossible." And perhaps you will simply look at them and smile because deep down you know that they are not actually trying to leave. They are trying to understand how someone can be so adorable and so impossible at the same time. And perhaps they will never find the answer. Maybe they are not supposed to. Maybe the magic is in the contradiction, the sweetness that hides strength, the softness that comes with boundaries, the cute smile that can be followed by the most stubborn opinion imaginable, the person who can make someone feel loved and challenged in the same conversation. That is you, and perhaps that is why they keep coming back. Not because you are easy, because you are real, not because you always agree, because you make them think, not because you never create problems, because even your difficult moments feel meaningful. And perhaps eventually this person will stop trying to change you. They will stop trying to figure out how to make you less stubborn. They will stop asking why you are so complicated. And they will simply realize this is Virgo, the person who is cute enough to make me smile, sweet enough to make me feel cared for, smart enough to challenge everything I say, independent enough to walk away, and stubborn enough to make me question every argument I have ever started. And somehow I still want more. That may be the real reason they cannot get you out of their head. You are not just a pretty memory. You are a personality, a presence, a feeling, a combination of qualities they cannot easily recreate. And perhaps the more they try to understand why they are so drawn to you, the more obvious the answer becomes. It is not just one thing, it is everything: the sweetness, the stubbornness, the humor, the intelligence, the vulnerability, the independence, the way you can make them feel completely comfortable and completely challenged at the same time. And maybe that is why they keep thinking about you when they should be focused on something else. Maybe that is why your name appears in their mind at random moments. Maybe that is why they remember your expressions, your jokes, your opinions, your reactions. Maybe that is why they keep finding reasons to come back into your energy, because you left an impression. And no matter how much they pretend that your stubbornness drives them crazy, perhaps the truth is that they would miss it if it disappeared. They would miss the way you argue. They would miss the way you correct them. They would miss the way you refuse to back down. They would miss the way you make them laugh when you are annoyed. They would miss the way you can be incredibly sweet one second and completely impossible the next, because all of it is you. And perhaps they are not looking for a version of you that is easier. They are looking for the real you, the cute one, the sweet one, the stubborn one, the complicated one, the funny one, the deeply caring one, the one who says, I do not care, while remembering everything, the one who says, I am fine, while needing time to process, the one who says, I am not going to text first while checking the phone anyway, the one who can be soft without being weak, and strong without becoming cold. That is the person they cannot get out of their head. And perhaps the funniest part is that you may still be wondering whether they even like you. Meanwhile, they may be somewhere thinking, how do I get Virgo to stop being so stubborn? And then immediately, actually, I hope Virgo never changes, because they may finally realize that the very thing that drives them crazy is also the thing that makes you unforgettable. So, Virgo, do not shrink yourself. Do not make yourself less opinionated. Do not pretend to be less independent. Do not apologize for having boundaries. Do not become easier to control simply because someone finds your strength intimidating. The right person will not need you to become less of yourself. They will learn you. They will listen. They will understand. They will know that your stubbornness is not a challenge to defeat. It is a part of the person they are lucky enough to know. And perhaps one day, when they are complaining about you for the 100th time, you will look at them and say, then why are you still here? And they will have no answer, because the truth will be obvious. They are still there because beneath all the arguments, all the teasing, all the moments when you drive each other crazy, they like you. They like the way you think. They like your energy. They like your sweetness. They like your independence. They like the fact that you are not easily impressed. They like the fact that you can be soft and strong. And they may secretly love the fact that you are not easy to win over. Because when you finally choose someone, they know it means something. You do not choose everyone. You do not trust everyone. You do not open your heart to everyone. And perhaps that is why your attention feels so special. Because they know that behind your stubbornness is a heart that is actually incredibly loyal. You may take time to trust, but once you do, you remember, you care, you show up, You protect the people you love. And perhaps this person is beginning to understand that your heart is not difficult to reach. It simply should not be treated carelessly. That is the difference. You are not impossible. You are intentional. You are not cold. You are careful. You are not difficult to love. You simply refuse to accept a version of love that requires you to abandon yourself. And perhaps this person is finally learning that. So let them be a little confused. Let them wonder how you can be so cute and so stubborn. Let them complain. Let them tease you. Let them shake their head when you refuse to change your mind. Because perhaps behind every Virgo, you are so stubborn, there is another sentence they are not saying out loud. And I cannot stop thinking about you. And perhaps behind every, you are driving me crazy, there is another truth. But I would miss you if you were gone. Because sometimes the people who frustrate us the most are the people who make life the most interesting. And perhaps that is exactly what you are to this person. You are the unexpected argument, the unexpected laugh, the unexpected softness, the unexpected challenge, the person who can make them feel completely comfortable and completely confused within the same 5 minutes. And somehow they do not want the experience to end. So, Virgo, keep your sweetness, keep your humor, keep your softness, keep your standards, keep your boundaries, and yes, keep your stubbornness too, because the right person will not look at all of those qualities and ask, how do I make Virgo less? They will look at you and think, how did I become so attached to this person? And then, after another argument, another disagreement, another moment where you refuse to admit that they may possibly have a point, they will probably sigh, shake their head, look at you, and stay because you are cute. You are sweet. You are absolutely stubborn. And somehow that combination has become impossible for them to resist.